Most people live their entire lives as prisoners, not in cells, but in their own minds. And the scary part, they've handed over the keys. If you don't learn to control your mind, it will control you. Stay with me because this talk isn't about motivation. It's about war. War against weakness. War against excuses. War against that voice in your head that's been lying to you your whole damn life. Your mind is your worst enemy and your only weapon. That is the paradox most people never come to grips with. It's not the world outside of you that stops you. It's the war going on inside your own head. Your brain has one job: survival, not greatness, not achievement, not fulfillment, just survival. And survival doesn't require pushing boundaries. It doesn't require discipline, pain, or long nights with no applause. It only requires that you stay alive. So from the moment you were born, your brain has been hardwired to seek the path of least resistance, to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable. But here's the catch: everything you want in this life lies on the other side of pain, struggle, and sacrifice. So your mind, the very thing you rely on to navigate life, becomes your biggest obstacle. It whispers excuses in your ear. It manufactures fear. It tells you to slow down when you need to speed up. It tells you you're done when you're just getting started. Your mind creates fake limitations, barriers that aren't real, that exist only because you believe them. And if you believe them, they become your reality. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't realize you're in. And that's exactly where most people are stuck, trapped in mental cages built by comfort, fear, and lies they've accepted as truth. But here's where things change if you're willing to do the work. Your mind can also become your greatest weapon. But make no mistake, it won't be easy. You can't flip a switch and become mentally strong. It takes daily assault. It takes war. You've got to turn your mind against itself and start breaking it down like a muscle. That means putting yourself in situations that are uncomfortable on purpose. That means setting goals so high they scare you and not backing down when they do. It means facing rejection, failure, embarrassment, and still showing up the next day, still hungry, still focused, still locked in. Your mind, just like your body, adapts to the environments you put it in. If you keep it soft, feed it comfort, give it rest when it cries, it will stay soft. But if you put it through stress, force it to endure, keep going when it wants to quit, it will start to change. You will start to change. It becomes a tool, a blade sharpened by resistance, honed through repetition and chaos. The most savage people walking this earth are not the ones born with some secret code for toughness. They're the ones who learned how to override the mental programs built for mediocrity. They reprogrammed the software. They used hardship as fuel. They turned pain into a teacher. And they did it on repeat. See, when you face resistance and you keep going anyway, you start to create a new voice inside your head. A louder voice. One that says, I've been through worse. One that says, let's go again. That voice drowns out the weakness, the excuses, the doubt. It doesn't happen in a day. It happens in the grind, in the repetition, in the lonely hours no one sees. You start to develop a new identity, one forged in the fire of discomfort. And when you reach that level, when your mind has been trained to obey you and not the other way around, you realize something powerful. All the limits were fake. All the ceilings were self-made. And everything you thought was impossible was just a story you accepted as fact. But you only get there by confronting the hardest truth of all. The enemy isn't out there. It's in you. And that enemy has been lying, manipulating, controlling you for years. You've been negotiating with weakness, and weakness has been winning. You've been arguing with fear, and fear has been running the show. That ends when you stop treating your mind like a passenger and start treating it like a weapon that needs to be sharpened daily, deliberately, and violently. The process is brutal. The process is ugly. But it is the only path to real freedom. Embrace the suck. Pain is the pathway. Most people hear that and immediately turn away because they've been conditioned their entire lives to run from discomfort. They've been told that happiness comes from ease, from soft living, from chasing comfort, luxury, and instant gratification. But that's a lie. That's the trap. Real growth doesn't happen when you're relaxed, when you're cozy, when everything's going your way. It happens when you're deep in the mud, when your body's screaming, when your mind's begging for a way out, and you decide to stay in it anyway. That's the suck. That's the place everyone avoids, but the few who run straight into it, those are the ones who rise. That moment when you're exhausted, your legs are shaking, your heart's pounding, and there's still a long way to go. That's the door. That's the opportunity. But most people see that door and walk away. They say, "This is too hard," or "Maybe this isn't meant for me." What they don't understand is that pain is not the enemy. It's the process. It's the price. You don't get to be great without going through it. You don't build calluses on your mind by staying in the shallow end of life. You go deep. You drown in the pressure. And when you come up for air, you're harder, sharper, more dangerous than you were before. Pain is the teacher that never lies. It strips away all the fake confidence, all the pretend toughness, and shows you exactly who you are. When you're in pain, you can't fake it. You can't hide behind image or ego. You can't talk your way out of the truth. Pain puts a mirror in front of your face and says, "Let's see what you're really made of." And that's why most people run. They're afraid of what they'll see. But if you stay in that pain, if you sit in it and take it not just once, but again and again, you start to change. Not just on the outside, not just in results, but inside. You build grit. You build resilience. You become a weapon. Because after you've been through enough pain, you stop being afraid of it. You stop avoiding it. You start to crave it, not because you're a masochist, but because you know what's waiting on the other side. You know that every time you push through the suck, you earn a piece of yourself back. You become the person you said you wanted to be when it was easy to say it. You stop talking about greatness and start becoming it, one painful step at a time. The suck isn't just physical either. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. It's when you feel alone, when no one believes in you, when doubt creeps in, when people around you are quitting, when your goals feel so far out of reach that they don't even seem real anymore. That's the suck. And that's when most people fold. But if you're willing to stay in it, if you're willing to embrace that crushing discomfort, you separate yourself from the pack. The suck is the separator. It's what defines the few from the many. It's the gut check that reveals the truth. Are you all talk, or are you ready to pay the price? Because everything you want, every goal, every dream, every ounce of self-respect, it lives on the other side of that pain. Not in the moment you feel good, but in the moment you feel broken and you keep going anyway. That's where confidence comes from. Not hype, not speeches. From dragging yourself through the fire until your mind stops seeing it as a threat and starts seeing it as home. You learn to live there, to thrive there, to stop negotiating with pain and start using it. Most people want the results, but they don't want the process. They want to be proud of themselves without earning that pride. But that's not how it works. You don't get strength without struggle. You don't get respect without suffering. You don't build legacy from comfort. You build it from blood, sweat, tears, and the willingness to show up in the suck every single day without applause, without a spotlight, and without any guarantee of success. The cookie jar, remember your hell and own it. This isn't about looking back for nostalgia. This is about survival. It's about ammunition. Life is a war, and if you walk into that war with nothing but wishful thinking and a soft mind, you're already dead. That's why you build the cookie jar. It's your personal archive of pain, of wins, of moments that nearly broke you but didn't. Every time you've been knocked down and got back up, put that in the jar. Every day you wanted to quit and didn't, put that in the jar. Every time you were told you weren't good enough, smart enough, strong enough, and you proved them wrong, jam that memory in the jar and seal it tight. Because when the real pain hits, when you're down in the dirt, when the voices in your head start whispering again, telling you you're done, you're broken, you should just stop. You need something to reach for. You need proof. You need something real to remind you who the hell you are. Not a quote, not a podcast, not motivation. You need evidence. Your cookie jar is that evidence. And it's not filled with perfect days and happy moments. It's filled with blood, failure, rejection, pain, and grit. It's your personal museum of hell, and every piece in it is a reminder that you've survived worse. Most people try to forget their past. They treat it like baggage. They want to move on from the pain, erase it, pretend it didn't happen. But that's weakness. That's how you lose the fight before it starts. The truth is, your past is your greatest asset, not because it defines you, but because it refines you. When you take those moments of suffering and turn them into fuel, you stop being a victim of your story and start using your story to dominate your future. You stop hiding from your darkness and start shining a light right into it. You own your hell. You say, yeah, I went through that, and I'm still standing. Every time life hits you again, and you don't collapse, you reach into that jar. You remember the nights when you had nothing but kept pushing anyway. You remember the mornings when you couldn't breathe, couldn't think, but still put one foot in front of the other. You don't just survive hell, you collect it. You hoard it. You stack it high so the next time your mind tells you it's too much, you've got a mountain of proof that says otherwise. Your cookie jar isn't just about wins. It's about the pain that made those wins possible. You remember the betrayal, the heartbreak, the exhaustion, the failure not to stay bitter, but to stay dangerous, to stay sharp, to stay hungry. Because every one of those moments carved a piece of weakness out of you and left behind strength. And you need to keep that close. Because life will come for you again. There will be new trials, new failures, new pain. And when they hit, you don't always have time to build confidence from scratch. You need to have it ready. You need to already know what you're capable of, not based on hope, but based on memory. That's what the cookie jar is. It's your mind's emergency backup system. When doubt creeps in, when fatigue takes over, when life kicks you in the chest, you open the jar. You reach in and pull out a memory that reminds you that you've done hard things before. You've already been through the fire and you didn't die. You've already been alone, broke, tired, and bleeding, and you kept moving. The jar reminds you that you're not weak, you're forged. That pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And now, when life comes at you again, you're not empty. You're not starting from zero. You're walking into the storm with a loaded arsenal of pain, proof, and power. Callous your mind like you callous your hands. You don't get strong hands from touching soft things. You don't build hardened skin by sitting in comfort. Calluses come from friction, from repetition, from grinding through resistance over and over again. That's how it works physically, and that's exactly how it works mentally. But most people have no mental calluses. Their minds are raw, soft, fragile. One little bit of pressure, and they crack. One hard day, one failure, one person criticizing them, and they fall apart. Why? Because they've never put their mind through enough stress to toughen it up. They've never stuck with something long enough to let their weakness wear down and resilience build up in its place. They're too quick to quit, too fast to fold, too eager to retreat the second things stop being comfortable. You can't get mentally tough from reading books or watching motivational videos. That stuff's candy. It tastes good for a moment, but it doesn't feed you when life gets hard. What feeds you is exposure to adversity, repeated exposure. You've got to go out and earn your mental calluses. That means doing the hard shit every day. That means going for the run when it's raining, showing up to the gym when you're exhausted, studying when your brain wants to check out. It means facing rejection, embarrassment, failure, and not running from it. Staring it in the face and going back for more. When you first start, it's going to hurt. Just like a fresh pair of lifting gloves that rub your skin raw, your mind is going to scream at you. It's going to beg you to stop. That's the threshold. That's the entry point to real change. You push through that enough times, and the pain starts to dull. Not because life gets easier, but because you get harder. You stop reacting emotionally to every challenge. You stop making excuses for every setback. You stop folding under pressure and start embracing it. That's when the calluses start to form. You walk into situations that used to destroy you, and now you don't even flinch. You sit in discomfort longer. You endure more chaos without falling apart. You develop what most people never will: mental durability. The ability to keep showing up, keep grinding, keep pushing forward, even when it makes no sense and no one's watching. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by deliberate exposure to hard things day after day, no matter how you feel. Callousing your mind means choosing the harder path every time. Not once in a while, not just when it's convenient, every time. You choose the stairs over the elevator. You speak up when you're scared. You confront your flaws instead of hiding behind pride. You embrace the awkwardness of growth instead of staying stuck in comfort. And over time, your tolerance for pressure increases. Your patience increases. Your self-respect skyrockets. You start to trust yourself not because things are easy, but because you've proven repeatedly that you can endure the hard, that you will show up, even when it sucks, even when it hurts, even when there's no applause, no reward, no end in sight. That's what mental callousing gives you: unshakable belief that you can handle anything. Life will still hurt, but it won't break you. That voice in your head that used to panic under stress, it gets quieter. That fear that used to control your choices, it starts to fade, because every hard rep you've done in the dark adds up. And now your mind doesn't retreat when it's uncomfortable, it leans in. It adapts. It fights. You've conditioned it to operate under pressure. That's the reward of mental callousing: freedom from fear, freedom from weakness, and the ability to keep marching forward when most people would rather lie down and wait for the pain to stop. Kill the inner bitch voice. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That little voice in your head that whispers all the soft lies, the excuses, the doubts, the fears. It's the voice that tells you to hit snooze when you swore you'd get up early. It's the voice that convinces you to skip the gym because you're tired, or not make that call because you're scared of rejection. It's the voice that tells you you're too broken to change, that you've failed too many times, that you're not good enough, strong enough, smart enough. And the worst part, that voice sounds just like you. That's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't come from your enemies, it comes from within. It wears your voice, your tone, your logic. It makes you feel like those weak thoughts are your reality, like they're justified. But they're not. That voice is a traitor. It's a liar. It's the part of you built for survival, not greatness. It doesn't care if you grow. It doesn't care if you become something more. It just wants you safe, small, invisible. You've got to understand, that voice is not your friend. It's the enemy. And every time you listen to it, you give it power. Every time you give in, even a little, it gets louder, stronger. It starts driving your life. You don't negotiate with that voice. You kill it. You silence it with action. You starve it by doing exactly what it tells you not to do. When it says rest, you work. When it says stop, you push harder. When it says you can't, you prove it wrong, over and over again. You don't fight it with positive affirmations or soft talk. You fight it by embracing the pain and doing the work regardless of how you feel. You develop discipline like a weapon. Discipline doesn't care about your emotions. Discipline shows up whether it's raining, whether you're sore, whether you're scared, whether you're heartbroken. And that's what it takes to shut that weak inner voice down. Because here's the truth no one wants to hear. That bitch voice never completely disappears. It's always there, waiting for a moment of weakness, waiting for you to get tired or bored or discouraged. That's why this isn't a one-time battle, it's daily warfare. Every morning when you wake up, it's there. Every time you chase something uncomfortable, it shows up. So you better be ready. You better train for it. You better be harder than that voice. Because if you're not, you lose. Simple. That voice will try to disguise itself. It'll say, be kind to yourself, when really it means, take the easy way out. It'll say, you've earned a break, when you haven't done shit. It'll try to make quitting look like self-care. That's how slick it is. That's how cunning it can be. But you have to recognize it for what it is, weakness in disguise. And when you hear it, you respond with action. You lace your shoes, you lift the weight, you get back to the grind. You stop giving yourself an escape route. Burn the damn ships. Give yourself no option but forward. Because every time you choose the hard path, you're not just killing that voice, you're building a new one, a stronger one, a voice that says, I don't quit. A voice that says, I'm built for this. A voice that gets louder the more you suffer with purpose. That's the real you, buried under years of conditioning, fear, and softness. And to uncover that version of yourself, the strong version, the relentless version, you've got to kill off the weak one. You've got to put the inner bitch voice in the ground every single day, with every rep, every mile, every hard conversation, every moment where quitting looks like the easier option. You kill it not with words, but with action, ruthless, consistent, undeniable action. You don't need motivation, you need accountability and discipline. Motivation is that fleeting spark, that temporary surge of energy that feels good in the moment, but dies the second life gets hard. You know the feeling. You watch a video, hear a speech, read a quote, and suddenly you're fired up. You've got plans, goals, vision. But then the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and it's cold outside. You're sore. You're tired. No one's watching. And suddenly that motivation is gone. It evaporates like it was never there. That's because motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. They can't be trusted. They shift with weather, with mood, with hunger, with failure. Discipline doesn't care about any of that. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline doesn't wait for the stars to align. Discipline shows up. It's there when it's dark. It's there when it hurts. It's there when nobody is cheering for you, when no one even notices. That's what separates the average from the savage, the ability to move forward without needing to feel good about it. Discipline is the foundation of every transformation, every success story, every person who's ever clawed their way from nothing to something. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's ruthless in its consistency. And the truth is, most people know what they need to do. They don't need more advice. They don't need more hype. They need accountability. They need someone or something that holds them to their word when their own willpower starts to fade. Because it will fade. It always does. Life gets heavy. The grind gets old. That's when accountability steps in. That's when you remind yourself or have someone remind you that you committed to something bigger than your feelings. That's when you stop making choices based on comfort and start making them based on principle. People say, I just can't stay motivated. Good. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to stay disciplined. You're supposed to stay accountable to the goals you set when your mind was clear and your heart was strong. You don't rely on inspiration, you rely on your standards. You don't show up because it's easy, you show up because you said you would. And that's the key. Your word has to mean something. If you say you're going to do something, then do it, especially when it's hard, especially when no one's watching. That's where character is forged. You train your mind to follow through no matter what. You train your body to respond to command, not convenience. You create non-negotiables, not, I'll try to work out. Not, I hope I can eat clean today. No, you will do it. You will show up. You will execute. That's discipline. That's accountability. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to be about it. Every time you follow through, your confidence grows. Not because someone hyped you up, but because you have real proof you've kept promises to yourself. That's what builds pride. That's what builds self-respect. Not the talk, not the vision boards, the actions. Repetition of hard things, even when you don't want to do them. Especially then, you start to shift from being reactive to proactive. You stop waiting for motivation to show up and start showing up without it. You stop chasing inspiration and start creating momentum through consistency. And the more consistent you become, the more unstoppable you feel. Not because it's easy, but because you've proven to yourself that you don't fold when it's hard. You start to value structure. You start to respect the grind. You stop whining about how hard things are and start appreciating the fact that most people don't have what it takes to do what you're doing. Discipline becomes your edge. Accountability becomes your fuel. You become dangerous because you're not controlled by emotion, you're governed by mission. You don't operate when it's fun, you operate because it's necessary. Because your goals aren't suggestions, they're commitments.